Now, we've recently seen Parliament pass the Border Force Act. Now, Fairfax is reporting that under this new legislation, doctors, teachers, other professionals who work in detention centres could face up to 2 years in jail if they come out and criticise conditions they find there, or they supply information to journalists. Are you comfortable with that?
Well, look, I have not seen the article, so I'll just put that as a caveat. But I think the principle that if you are employed to do a job, you should do the job. If there are concerns about human welfare or the way things should be getting done, you should work back through the appropriate authorities to try and address that. Certainly, if you can improve it, you should. And the authorities should be quite open to hearing where things can be improved, because the general principle is those who are delivering the service usually have the best ideas. I don't think the first point of call should ever be run into the media, but there are, of course, people who at the very core of their soul have conviction about something that's wrong. And if you look at history in Western democracies, people who have stood up against that, sometimes at the risk of jail time, have usually brought issues out to the fore. So I'm a bit nervous if that was going to be the policy.
So you say the first choice should be, say, a doctor goes back to the government department or the contractors or whatever. But if they do feel compelled to go public, what's the harm there? What's wrong with that? If the end result that it improves conditions, I mean, it might be slightly embarrassing to the government, but beyond that,
well, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, frankly. I mean, as long as they've gone the first process, which is we've written to the authority. We've seen a bit of grandstanding in the past, but as long as they're going, well, look, this is a problem here, we're trying to fix it, and we have an independent sort of authority that can look at that, I think that's fine. I don't, if you speak up against a government delivery of service in a democracy as ours, you should not go to jail.
I mean, this is the point. I mean, it says up to 2 years in prison. Now, under my work contract, if I do something that embarrasses Fairfax, they can sack me, but I don't end up in jail.
No. And I don't think it will get any traction, and it shouldn't get any traction. At the end of the day, first thing, if you've got a problem, raise it with your employer. If you can suggest ways to making it better, good. Now, if you're someone who's going there to do politics, you shouldn't be in the job. But if you're someone who's delivering the service and trying to ensure that health services are better in our detention centres, ensure that educational opportunities are better in our detention centres, and there's something that vehemently crosses with your conscience, well, this is an open democracy, and if they can sometimes, if you look at history, if people have brought that to the fore, it's put pressure on government to improve things.
And the end result down the track is
better outcomes. Yeah.
This is an absolute outrage. We've known ever since these overseas gulags were established that there's a veil of secrecy over them, but people have always been able to blow the whistle in this nation on atrocities, where laws aren't being upheld, where healthcare standards are not being met. That's a part of our democratic system, and this law, the Border Force Act, which was passed by this Parliament a few weeks ago, of course the Greens didn't support it, is now going to muzzle the good people who are working in those detention centres trying to help improve conditions. It's going to muzzle them from speaking out. That doctor a few weeks ago that said women are showering behind flimsy curtains that are blowing open while male guards are standing there, they don't have enough pads or sanitary items, he would have now been subject to potentially to going to jail for 2 years for speaking out about the basic healthcare needs of people that are under Australia's care. I cannot believe that this is an assault on whistleblowing. This government is beyond the pale. They're attacking the very foundations of our democratic system. People have to be allowed to speak out. They've rammed laws through the Parliament that, of course, Labor didn't object to. So this is our new rule. Anyone who has an opinion and wants to speak out against an injustice can go to jail for 2 years. We tried to fix that with some amendments to protect whistleblowing in the public interest. Nobody supported those. We've now established an inquiry into Nauru, which will give those witnesses at least a platform to be able to speak out with impunity without facing jail, given that the whole point of having a Senate inquiry is that witnesses can advantage themselves of parliamentary privilege. But it shouldn't take an inquiry that we had to beg and plead to get support to establish for these people to be able to speak out. We've got to remove this veil of secrecy, and you shouldn't be silencing people.
So I wonder, though, if the government is making a rod for its own back, because if it does actually imprison someone, there's going to be an outcry, isn't there?
Oh, I should hope so. I mean, it's a shame that it's only now coming to light the extent of the assault of this law that passed this parliament, with both of the big parties saying, yes, that's fine, no problem, lock these people up offshore and let's not let anyone tell us when there's atrocities being committed or standards not being met. I welcome the fact that it's now receiving some scrutiny. What a tragic irony that this might be the only scrutiny we'll ever see, because people are going to be muzzled under threat of jail.
So is there a bit of a contradiction here? I wonder if doctors and teachers are threatened with imprisonment, but Cabinet can leak with impunity?
Of course, the irony. I mean, the point about doctors and teachers is that they've got professional standards to uphold. They're there doing a job out of the goodness of their heart, trying to help people. And if they can't even raise attention, it's not like they're criticising the government by saying you've got pathetic, heartless policies. You know, the Greens are the ones to do that. They're actually saying people's healthcare standards aren't being met, people's educational standards aren't being met. They're not just engaging in political debate. They're trying to raise awareness of issues that are actually human rights abuses. And now they're going to be facing 2 years jail for doing their professional duty. I'm incredulous.